Alright, today we're gonna look at the worst enchantments in Magic the Gathering. You know, it's like the Planeswalkers with no loyalty abilities. We're gonna start off with Freyalize's Radiance for a green and 1 generic. It's an enchantment with cumulative upkeep of 2, so it better be a really good ability. But in the end, only snow permanents don't untap during their controller's untap steps. This is only gonna work for a little while, and then it's never gonna work at all. And, like, how many snow permanents can there be out there? I don't know. Maybe this would be good against mono blue spirits for, like, I don't know, a turn. Not everyone has snow permanents. This is, I guess, like, the hate card that they tried to use to dissuade people from playing with snow basics, but it sort of falls on its face. Like, how many upkeeps can you pay for this? I guess 1. Because you have the 2 mana play the Radiance in the first place, but then after that, it's all over. It's all over. What do you got, PM? The Gray to Wall? Is that a card? It's going to be a lot of cards today I am not familiar with at all. Great Wall, white and 2 generic. Creatures with Planeswalk may be blocked as if they did not have this ability. Oh my god! Don't tell anyone about this card. Don't tell the humans, the spirits players. I want my island walk with my merfolk. Oh, no, but this is only with... This is only Planeswalk. It's not land... I read it like Landwalk. This is way worse than that. Creatures with Planeswalk may be blocked as if they did not have this ability. So you're hating on specifically the decks with Planeswalk. That is absolutely nuts. I mean, and by nuts, I mean, this is useless. You can't... Where would you put this? In the sideboard? What exactly, what is it? What is the most devastating Planeswalk card out there? Not to mention, like, a lot of the white cards have flying anyway, so you're not going to be able to block them no matter what. Anyway. Moving on, we got Snowfall. Looking at Snowfall. Oh, this poor guy in the snow. A blue, 2 generic. Must be from the Blue Man group. Cumulative upkeep of a blue. Whenever an island is tapped for mana, its controller may add an additional blue mana. If that island is snow, its controller may add an additional blue instead. Spend this mana only to play... Oh my god. I thought that, you know, we went from almost absolute broken to completely useless really quickly. We can only spend this mana only to pay cumulative upkeep costs. So this is not High Tide. This is just hot, like, this is mega High Tide for cumulative upkeep. This is so bad. I've got no words for this. Snow-covered islands may produce either an additional blue or an additional blue when tapped for mana. But this mana is usable only before cumulative upkeep. Okay. Hot garbage for those anti-tabernacle. Okay, Dem says, unlikely alliance. Unlikely alliance. Unlikely alliance for a white and 1 generic enchantment. We got the activated ability of a white and 1 generic. Target non-attacking, non-blocking creature gets +0/+2 until end of turn. Remember, they cannot be attacking, and they can't be blocking, and it gets +0/+2. What's the point of this? Oh, I guess to get out of range of, like, lightning bolt. Holy crap, is that narrow? Strange alliances are alliances still and provide the same protection. Well, not really. They're not protecting you from fights. They're not protecting you when you get into somebody else's fight. It's just, well, whatever. Target non-attacking. It's like saying, yeah, it's like giving giant growth to a creature that can't be in combat. Play giant growth only if you're not in combat or something to that effect. And we got the one who knocks, the Root Cage. The Root Cage. It's gonna be a lot of old cards. Actually, this is somewhere in the middle of old and super old. Green 1 generic enchantment. Mercenaries don't untap during their controller's untap steps. See that? You know, mercenaries can't be super high up on the tier list because there are hate cards specifically for the mercenaries. But you never know if you have a friend who plays a mercenary EDH deck, you're going to get him with this thing. It's good versus mercenaries. It's just super narrow. Fireburn with the super chat. Hey Nikachu, disappearing orb is pretty terrible. No, sorry, dispersing orb. Dispersing orb. Blue, 3 generic enchantment. Pay a blue, 3 generic. Sack a permanent. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. You know what? This is the cost to this is enormous, but I don't think it's actually that bad. I could see that being played in EDH. I could see that being a... Well, it's obviously worthless here at like 18 cents, but I could see that being a very expensive foil. Could you like, I don't know, sack a land, bounce somebody's super big chonker back to their hand? But for practical, like for competitive practical reasons, this is terrible. You're sacking permanents to bounce permanents. Return target, yeah, to bounce permanents back to their hand. It's a very high cost to this thing. Some of you people are naming cards you don't like, but are actually really good cards. Ley Line of the Void. You can bring it out for the time that we go over the best enchantments in the game. Even if you don't like them, they're still the best. I argue Bridge is a worthless enchantment on the board, which, is this a card that we went over? Bridge? Root Cage. Is there a card called Bridge? Oh, you're talking about Bridge from Below. Okay, you get points for a card that is completely useless if it's actually in play. So Bridge from Below is a black card. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And when a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from the if a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, exile Bridge from Below. So the deal is, this card does nothing while it's in play. Complete garbage. It needs to be in the graveyard. Jacob with the super chat. Fasting. Fasting for 1 white enchantment. You may choose to skip your draw phase. If you do, you gain 2 life. Oh my god. It's the most white card of like back in the day. Exchange card draw for life. If you so choose. If you draw a card for any reason, fasting is destroyed. During your upkeep, put a hunger counter on fasting. When fasting has 5 hunger counters on it, it is destroyed. So I guess you got too hungry for life. I don't know. These cards keep getting worse. You don't draw cards. And whenever you have an opportunity to draw a card, okay, you have to skip your draw phase. And if you do so, you gain 2. You may choose to skip the draw phase. And if you draw a card for any reason, fasting is destroyed. During your upkeep, put a hunger counter. Oh, I see. So if you try to draw a card, if you get too hungry, for that card draw. You feel like your hand is starved. You got to sack this thing. Flavor is greater than the usability. Yeah, exactly. Very, very good. Arcane Laboratory. This is like a staple anti-combo card. Each player can't play more than 1 spell each turn. This is one of the best. This is one of the best enchantments. Good against Mill? I don't know. Fasting. I don't know. I don't think so. Fasting, great flavor, despite no food. Oh yeah, there's no food involved, but one of the worst enchantments ever for sure. Fasting plus Solemnity can be potent. Oh god. You only gain 2 life a turn, but it is 1 mana, so. So the price is right. What do we got here? Rooftop Storm. I thought this was an okay card. I don't remember. Rooftop Storm. I heard of it before. Blue. Oh, this is nobody. I guess no one's found out how to break this card. Blue 5 generic. It's a very expensive enchantment. You may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for zombie creatures you cast. But if you can break this card, this is a good card. This is going to be a good one. Now remember, everyone, auras count. Auras are enchantments. And there are millions of bad auras out there, so keep your mind open. My suggestion card is Justice. Justice. Damn it, there's too many cards with Justice. Oh, this one, the white 2 generic. During your upkeep, pay white or bury Justice. Whenever a red creature or spell assigns damage, Justice deals an equal amount of damage to that creature's spell or controller. Well, this is great, except the upkeep sucks. Whenever any red creature or spell assigns damage, Justice will deal it back. You're gonna feel Justice, burn players and red deck win players. But it's not gonna last in play for very long. Because it's cumulative upkeep. Approaching Calamity. Call the Wild. I think it's good, but no one I know likes it, so maybe it's bad? I like that. You got peer feedback. And so, probably it's garbage. Green 2 generic enchantment. With an activated ability of green 2 generic, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put into play? Otherwise, put into your graveyard. It's not good, but it's actually not bad. So if you stack, but you need to stack your deck with Scrying. If you can stack your deck with Scrying, I think this can be a really powerful card. I can see where your friends are getting from. If you're doing this randomly, this card's trash. It's like, oh, reveal a land, do nothing. Oh, reveal a sorcery, do nothing. So you have to stack your deck. Not illegally. You can do it through Scrying, you can do it through blue spells, and then the card is going to be good. And then you can prove your friends wrong. Jacob with the super chat. Armistice. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Armistice. White 2 generic enchantment. These are pretty bad when you have to sink more mana into them than you originally did. White 3 generic. You draw a card and target opponent gains 3 life. That is a lot of mana for card draw. That's the price white has to pay to draw some cards around here. 5 mana for 1 card. Oh, that makes me... Okay, hold on. I have a suggestion. Circle of Protection. Blue. Whoop. Then I write this one. Circle of Protection blue. White 1 generic enchantment for pay 1. The next time a blue source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. This has got to be the most useless Circle of Protection in the game. Because blue in general is going to be more of a controlling type of deck or combo-like deck. So you'll have nothing to actually prevent. There's no source of damage that blue is going to deal that you'd actually want to prevent from them. All the other decks deal damage, direct damage, or through creatures. We got MG Fox. Forced Fruition. Forced Fruition. Oh, look at this one. Blue 4 generic enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a spell that player... Whoa! Whenever an opponent plays a spell, that player draws 7 cards. How does this help you? Forced Fruition, blue 4. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, that player draws 7 cards. So you have to somehow force your opponents to draw cards if you want to like somehow mill them out or something to that effect. Okay, anyway, wow. This is beyond crazy bad. Oh no, but there is a cost to this, right? Like, how many spells can your opponents play till they die? Like, when you think about it, well, like, how many times you can play spells? Like, I don't know, 4 or 5 more times? Like, eventually you'll just draw your deck? Well, like, in Commander, this is really awful. Because eventually they'll just find a way to destroy the Forced Fruition. Forced Fruition is a card that Group Hug Prison decks play in EDH to mill. They can't win with less than 8 spells. Exactly. One of those spells has to be a way to deal with the forced fruition. But I see where you're coming from. Yeah, I see where you're coming from here. Okay, we have tons more bad cards to look at, but we gotta thank our sponsors, FusionGamingOnline.com. Your one-stop shop for all of your paper magic needs. I get the first place I look for my singles is FusionGamingOnline.com. And the deal of the week this week is save up to 15% off all Urza block singles. Maybe you need that Gilded Drake to do the switcheroo with one of your opponent's creatures or Gaia's Cradle. I don't know. If you're an elf or any random green deck player, add a bunch of mana and treachery. Again, swiping. Wow, they don't leave your creatures alone back in the Urza Saga block. Unbelievable. Anyway, 15% off, but you know what? You can get an additional 5% off when you use coupon code Nikachu at checkout. Supports the channel and saves you money. We're also gonna thank Mana Traders. Mana Traders, the way to play every single deck possible. If you're a brewer at heart and you want to build something from the ground up, you can do that with Mana Traders. Just brew to your heart's content. Take whatever card you need, jam it in there, and then if the whole deck is trash, brew another one. Go for it. And there's still a lot of formats where you can go brew, like Pauper or Modern if you play all the busted cards first. That's what Aspiring Spike does, at least. Just throw Ragavan and all the other core cards and boom, you got yourself a brew. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_WS2. And now back to beautiful forced fruition. Alright, we got Brian F with the super chat. What is this? There we go. Crusade was great until Wizard Coast banned it because a company that's a little literal built on gambling decided to become PC. Well, in this day and age, you can't be too offensive. I mean, they have, I know a lot of people think, well, what is it to lose? I mean, they got a lot to lose. There's nothing to lose being nice about it. But anyway, we're talking about good cards, not, sorry, we're talking about bad cards, not, enchantments that give +1/+1. Gunblade Knight, Song of the World Soul. What is this? Song of the World Soul. White, 4 generic enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell populate, create a token that's a copy of... Whenever you cast a spell populate, create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. This card is not bad, but it's very, very expensive for this effect. For 6 mana. I imagine there's someone out there playing this card. There's got to be somebody out there. If you're a fan of Song of the World Soul, you let us all know in the comments section. But for competitive purposes, 6 mana to populate something, it's not gonna pass the bar. Sam A with the super chat. Have we looked at Divine Intervention yet? Nope. Divine Intervention, white, 6 generic enchantment. Divine Intervention enters the battlefield with 2 intervention counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an intervention counter from Divine Intervention. If there are no intervention counters on it, the game is a draw? So so you have to put this in your deck with the intention of drawing the game out. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove 1. Yeah, and if there are no more intervention counters on it, the game is a draw. You have no, when I build a deck, I'm like, how do I win with this thing? We need to win with this card. This has no plan of winning the game. Alright, yeah, this is super terrible. What do we got next? We got Stetson Air Bladder. Is that a real card? Just because of the name? Isn't that like a plane or something? Isn't there don't planes have bladders, if I am not mistaken? Blue, enchanted creature has flying. Enchanted creature can block only creatures with flying. Oh yeah, that's terrible. It's like basically giving it flight, but then you can only fly. You can only block other creatures with flying. Terrible card. Alex Dexton. Recycle. Green, 4 generic, skip your draw step. All right, so that's already a heavy cost as it is. Whenever you play a card, draw a card. Your maximum hand size is 2. Whenever you play a card, draw a card. It depends. You know, I mean, again, this card is pretty bad because it's so expensive. So objectively speaking, it's not good. But in the right deck, this could be really, really good. I mean, I could imagine, okay, if you're playing like a casual elves deck, this could be really strong because you could just spew out all your elves as you play them. And they're all cheap, so it shouldn't be hard to keep the chain going. So Rat says, many people tell me reconnaissance is terrible. Reconnaissance. 1 white, enchantment, 0. Remove target attacking creature you control from combat and untap it. Remove target attacking creature you control from combat and untap it. You know, honestly, I would never want to put this in my deck, but I could see how this gives, like, free attacks, because you attack with everything. And then whatever your opponents block, well, you just pay a 0 and remove target attacking creature you control from combat and untap it, right? It's as simple as that, basically. Reconnaissance is OP after damage step. You can untap your creature. You can untap it after damage is dealt. Oh, that is crazy. Look at this. Bad cards that get good. Yeah, basically, reconnaissance can be used to give your creatures vigilance. It is true. So, as people may not know this, but the damage step is a step in Magic, and it is still part of the combat step. So you move to, for example, what's it called? You move to the, you know, there's beginning of combat, then beginning of combat, attacker step, blocker step, then the damage step, but that damage step is still part of combat, so your opponents are dealt damage, and we usually just shortcut our way into main phase 2, but you can slow down. You can say, hey, we're still in combat. I'm going to remove my target attacking creature I control from combat and untap it. It's already dealt the damage. Use it in the cleanup step in combat. What? There's no cleanup step in combat. Or is there a cleanup step in combat? Is that old terminology? I don't remember. Anyway, very, very interesting card. Interesting card. I mean, I would never play this personally. This is pretty poor. Cooler King. All right, thank you very much for the super chat. Browse. Browse. Blue, 2 generic enchantment. Blue, 2 generic. Look at the top 5 cards of your library and put one of them into your hand. Remove the rest from the game. You know, I never thought about this because you guys are showing me all these, like, sink a bunch of mana into this card, and then you got to sink a bunch more mana into an ability. These cards don't see play. Like, nobody plays these cards. I'm looking at it, it's like, it can't be that bad. Like, you at least get to do something at end of turn, but the problem is, up front, you do nothing. You do literally nothing. And then it's basically like you're spending 8 mana to get a card, because you may not be able to activate this thing again. We've got a huge super chat here. Baron Brendan. I don't have a card today, but I still wanted to support the channel. Also stream idea. Cards or strategies we or someone we know thought worked as kids, but didn't really know or understand the rules. We had actually one show like that, where, you know, like how we misinterpreted the rules. Strategies we thought worked as kids. Strategies we thought worked as kids. I'll write it down. And by the way, if anyone has ideas for shows, you let me know in the comment section. You can't tell me in chat because I may or may not see it. But the comment section, I read the comment section. Thanks so much for the super chat. Huge super chat. And now we've got the David Willard with Mechanized Warfare. Oh, that's a new one? Already fresh out of the box. Sorry, Willard? Mechanized Willard? So, sorry, Warfare. Yeah, your name is Willard. Mechanized Warfare. Okay, red, 1 generic. If a red or artifact source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +1. What's wrong with this? I don't know if anyone's gonna play this thing. It deals like 1 extra damage. It's like a mini Torvar. Is that his name? No, the Torvar does not exist. No, it's the red guy, the 2/4 red guy. Whenever a source deals damage, you deal 2 damage. It's really painful for red or artifact source. It's not the worst thing. What do we got here? Marrow Commerce. Marrow Commerce. Blue 1 generic. At the end of your turn, untap all merfolk you control. And I can tell you, as a merfolk player, this card's unplayable. A lot of people try. It's almost... So many people try to jam this into merfolk decks. It's like, there's got to be something there. It's got to be. You got to untap. The possibilities are endless. But really, they just kill off all your creatures, leave the Marrow Commerce alone. And, like, basically it does nothing in the end. You end up against, like, you know, some sort of Tarmogoyf Jund deck. And you understand why this card is bad real quickly. Michael Johnson. Aggressive Mining. Card draw in red. Oh, that card! I was so hyped for that. I almost spec'd on this card. It looks like it has insane potential, but it's just insanely bad. I remember Sam Black wrote an article on this card saying, this card is serious. Sam didn't know if it was good, but it was serious. It was very, very serious. You can't play lands. And sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards. Activate this ability only once each turn. I guess it might be different if you activate it twice. If you could activate it multiple times, maybe that would have broke it, but you can only activate it once a turn. Because there's all sorts of ways of cheating lands in play. You could, like, play creatures that dig for lands, like Secure Tribe Elder and stuff like that. So there was always a way of getting more lands, but I guess there was just no good way to... It just shows how important like, people talk about card draw being so important. Playing your land drops is also important. If you can't play your lands, you know, it makes the card just completely useless. That is a nice, terrible card. Brian F. Hey, Brian F. What is with the Thought Lash? You don't touch my... You know, I see potential in this card. So, Thought Lash is blue, 2 generic. Commutative upkeep. Remove the top card of your library from the game. When Thought Lash's commutative upkeep isn't paid, remove your library from the game. And remove the top card of your library from the game to prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to you this turn. I actually think this card is sick. I could see in most people they think this card is trash. Does anyone know my idea? I don't even think it's my idea. I'm certain other people have came up with this before I did. But I got this in my Merfolk deck. I actually have Thought Lash in my EDH Merfolk deck. Thassa. It's one of the best Thassa Oracle combo cards. Because you can remove the top card of your library from the game to prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to you. So I can just remove my deck. I can just remove, yeah, it's Thought Thassa, or Thassa Thought. Thassa Thought. But outside of Thassa's Oracle, this card's pretty bad. So, it was like a nothing card for eternity, and Thassa's Oracle gave it a little bit of breathing room, so it's only good as a combo card. And outside of the combo, yeah, don't touch it. You're gonna exile your good cards too. I'm gonna get one of your good cards. Okay, we got Cultic Horse with the super chats. Sarkhan's Unsealing. Sarkhan's Unsealing. We got the red 3 generic enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to any target. Okay. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 7 or greater, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. This is not too bad. I would never play this card. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Unsealing deals 4 damage to any target. Basically turns any of your dragon... I mean, it's a dragon card, right? Turn your dragon into a giant lightning bolt. Actually, what is like a 4 damage? Fire Blast. Turns them all into Fire Blast. Well... Okay, so I guess the deal is who's going to play this card? Because I guess if you look at this, like, say, as a burn player or a red slide player, it's unplayable, right? Because when are you going to play a creature spell that's so big? It's specifically a dragon for a dragon deck. And honestly, I can't even say that this is even going to be good in a dragon deck. This might be even unplayable there. But outside of that, it's completely useless. David Willard. I found it on a list of top 10 worst enchantments. Really? Oh, was it the top 10 worst enchantments period or top 10 worst enchantments in... because you had the mechanized warfare. Wow, this thing came out recently and it was already put on a top 10 worst enchantments list. It says something about card design. Okay, Radiant Realms. Lands. Oh, sorry, Rune of Protection lands. Rune of Protection. We'll just look up. Oh, so it's like, did they brought back the Circle of Protection cycle? They did. Oh, but you have to pay a white instead. Oh, these are terrible. We can put these all on the list, but one that gets deserved to be put on the list more than anything is Rune of Protection lands. A white one generic. They were covering... Wizards was covering themselves for the future, just in case lands got too powerful. Enchantment, pay a white, prevent all damage to you from a land source, and you can cycle this thing away. Just in case, say, one day maybe Raging Ravine or something is gonna get out of control! You know, today they start with, like, Fairy Conclave. Who knows what they have in the future? And truth be told, like, Treetop Village ended up being a pretty good card for an incredibly long time. Really long time. Okay, Someone Somewhere with Farmstead. I think Rune of Protect... you know, honestly, this really fits the theme of the show. This really fits the theme of the show. This is completely useless. And it's a rare! Oh, man, imagine opening an old box of Urza Saga and you get open up Rune of Protection lands. Whatever. Okay, we got Farmstead from Someone Somewhere. Somewhere on the Farmstead, obviously. White, white, white. I can't even read this. Enchant land. Target land's controller gains 1 life. If white, white is spent during controller's upkeep, you cannot gain more than 1 life each turn through this enchantment. I think we have a winner. This is one of the worst things I could possibly see. You have to put this on you have to put this on a land at the beginning of your upkeep. You can pay another double white, and you gain 1 life. We have sunk 5 mana into this thing to increase our life points by 5%. I want to see my new life broker. We got John from accounting. Coral Reef from Homelands. Coral Reef. Blue, blue, enchantment. When Coral Reef comes into play, put 4 polyp counters on it. Whatever the hell that is. Pay 0. Sacrifice an island to put 2 polyp counters on it on Coral Reef. All right. We're ramping up the polyp counters. What is it going to do? Pay a blue. Tap target blue creature you control and remove a polyp counter from Coral Reef to put a +0/+1 counter on any target creature? You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. We sack the lands. To some degree, we are sacrificing lands to give creatures +0/+1. That's what this card is telling me. Is this like one of those flavor win cards? Yeah, look at Radiant has to like come in and say, "Holy, that's bad." Man, and I wasn't even competing back then. I mean, it was Homelands. It must have been a good, I don't know, limited card at the time. Even though I don't think limited was... They weren't even considering limited at the time. The polyp counter sounds like an AI generated card. Yeah, the polyp counter. Random counter. Corey with the defensive stance. 1 blue. Aura. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets -1/+1. So we're like, you're not going to put this on your own creature. You got to put it on one of your opponent's creatures. But even then, we're just going to take it down a little bit of a peg. And bring it up a little bit of a peg. Or I guess you might want to put this on your own creature. It must have been a limited thing. Like, there must have been a lot of Phyrexian cards in... I don't know what the set was, which Phyrexian set this was. But it must have been a thing where, like, having a boosted toughness might as well have made your creature like a brick wall. There must have been a lot of 1-power creatures back then. Flexible. Was that a card? It is not. It must have been reference to this. Oh, we've got Jacob. Arcanus Web. We got a green 2 generic. This is pretty... Well, it's a reprint. But it's an old reprint. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. At the beginning of the end step, if enchanted creature's power is 4 or greater, destroy Arcanus Web. So we only can, like... We can only, like, muzzle the small, crappy creatures. If it's too big. Oh, I see. So the flavor is this. If you're too big for the web, then it just... they break free. But if you're too small, you're going to get eaten up by the spider. And speaking of bugs, we got Cocoon. No, we got... Okay, I'm not even going to read what it really says. I'm just going to read the Oracle text. Enchant creature you control. When Cocoon enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature and put 3 Poopa counters on Cocoon. We're going to put the Poopa counters on. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during your untap step if Cocoon has a Poopa counter on it. And at the beginning of your upkeep, remove a Poopa counter from Cocoon. If you can't sacrifice it, put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature, and that creature gains flying. Holy merciful crap! So basically, we lock away our creature for at least 3 turns, and then all it gets is +1/+1 and flying. Fly, my pretties, fly! This is garbage. We wasted 3 turns to give it +1/+1 and flying. We could have done that. There was like another card that we saw today that basically does the same thing. Wasadi says, I always wanted to make a card with this, but just have no idea how to make it work. There's... Oh, you're talking about Spellweaver. Oh, I thought you were talking about Cocoon. This is a build-around card, people. This is the ultimate challenge. I have no idea what makes Cocoon good, but... Okay, well, I'll take a look at the Spellweaver Volute. What is this? Enchant instant card in a graveyard. Oh my god, they were going deep. And this costs 5 mana. Whenever you play a sorcery spell, copy the enchanted instant card. You may play the copy without paying its mana cost. If you do, remove the enchanted card from the game and attach Spellweaver Volute to another instant card in the graveyard. Oh, that's interesting. Well, you have to play it in some sort of self-mill deck, right? This might be good in mill. Okay, I think I found its spot. I think you could play this in mill, because then as you keep playing mill spells, you keep being able to put Spellweaver Volute on another mill spell. I think you would play it in mill. But this card is certainly terrible. And this is a weird enchantment. It enchants instants. Instants in your graveyard. Or instant whenever you play a sorcery spell. Enchant an instant in your graveyard whenever you play a sorcery spell. Oh, that's the... Copy the enchanted instant card. You may play the copy. If you do, remove the enchanted card from the game. And... Oh, the problem is you have to play sorceries. Oh, that sucks. In a graveyard, not just yours. Oh, so we could, like, copy our opponent's spells. The problem is we can only put it on instants, and then we have to play sorcery, so there's no synergy there. Need more of this design. Yeah, we need to... What we need is to make the graveyard more complicated. Put auras on people's instants and sorceries in the graveyard. All right. Did I miss something here? Okay, we have a few super chats. So we've got Frosty Complete. Did you do Snowfall? No, we didn't do Snowfall. Oh no, we did do Soulfall. But we didn't do Suleiman's Legacy. Suleiman's Legacy. Red, white. When Suleiman's Legacy enters the battlefield, bury all djinns. Sorry, djinns. Some people are very sensitive about how I pronounce djinn. Or a freet. And a freet. Sorry about that. Whenever a djinn or a freet comes into play, bury it. It's anti-genie. It should be called the lamp or something like that. The lamp. Because they have to go back into the lamp, right? This is super narrow. This is another one of those, like, it's a powerful card, but against, like, literally one deck. And how many people out there have, like, a Jin, like, the Jin Afreet EDH deck with all of them in there? Not very likely. Does it hate on Juzam Djinn? Oh, yeah, it has to. He has to be a Djinn. Juzam. You don't like the legacy, do you? No, you don't. You're going to get hit by the Suleiman's Legacy. Whatever. Alright, what else we got here? Brian F. with the Hot Springs. Yeah, what about Hot Springs? Hot Springs. Green 1 generic. Enchant land. When Hot Springs comes into play, choose target land you control. Pay 0. Tap land. Hot Springs enchants to prevent 1 damage to any creature or player. You know what? I got blown out in the beta draft by cards like this. Preventing 1 damage can sometimes be a house, especially back then. I could totally understand why this card was good at the time. Because things like, what is that, Prodigal Sorcerer, that like taps to deal 1 damage, that card's broken. That card's absolutely broken back then, because everything's like a 1 power, 1 toughness creature. So if you can prevent damage in this manner, you can get a lot more blocks in. But by today's standards, this is a hot trash. We don't deal with 1 power, 1 toughness creatures anymore. We deal with big chonkers. Big chonkers. We got Fireburn. Wanderlust makes me laugh every time I see it. Wanderlust? Green 2 generic, enchant creature. At the beginning of the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, Wanderlust deals 1 damage to that player. Holy moly! Well, and in EDH it'll take like forever to pull this off, right? Alright, well, we got the 40 turn clock. Let's go! This is a really slow clock. And only at the upkeep. Enchanted creature. And only if the creature's still alive. If the creature dies, it's useless. Jacob. Red Spellweaver Volute is shifting... Red Spellweaver Volute is shifting shadow. You know what? You guys are talking about cards I have no idea of. Red Spellweaver Volute. Are you saying this is the bad card? Red 2 generic aura. Enchanted creature has haste. And at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy this creature. Oh god. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield and attach shifting shadow to it. Then put all the cards revealed this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. I have no doubt this card is terrible. On the other hand, it's probably really fun. At the beginning of your upkeep, destroy this creature. And it has haste. So you just basically keep changing the creature that you have it on. Alright, we're going to get another creature. Alright, we're going to get another creature. Okay, Spirit Squad says, can confirm Prodigan Sorcerer is an actual boss in 93. Oh, is it? Yeah, I felt it in the beta draft. I got crushed by that card. I got absolutely annihilated by the Prodigal Sorcerer. Or is it Prodigan? Whatever. We know what we're talking about. Rue Shepard with the super chat. Earnest Fellowship. I don't know if it's bad or not, but I personally love it for the chaos it causes in EDH. Chaos usually is synonymous with bad, so just like the shifting shadow. Shifting Shadow is one of those chaos cards. White 1 generic enchantment. Each creature has protection from its colors. That is... Each creature has protection. Well, so they can't hurt itself no more. What is this art? It's like pouring something into, whatever. I don't know what's going on here. The world has enough strife as it is. Why would we... where would we be if we turned against each other? That's right. You can't hurt yourself. No, we're dealing damage. Oh, I love this one from Will Anderson. This is worth it. Bitter Blossom. I think this... I know the hate is... Some people are logging off as I speak. But for 1 black, 1 generic, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life and create a fairy token. I think this is one of the worst enchantments. This is definitely the worst enchantment in competitive play for anyone who tries to play this card. It's so expensive. It's still so expensive. I think the problem is, like, if you're a fairy player, you have very slim pickings, and you probably have to splash black, and you have to play Bitter Blossom. You have no choice. Oh my god. Very expensive card. For what it does. You know, there are cards... Well, whatever. Anyway, you basically voluntarily are losing a life every turn for one dinky little 1/1 creature. Monkey with the Hidden Path. There are so many bad cards. Green, 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 2 generic enchantment. All green creatures gain Forest Walk. All the green creatures gain Forest Walk. That's a really high price to pay for just Forest Walk when moments before we were lost beyond hope, the strange floating lights showed us the way and restored our morale. Yeah, in some sense. Potion quickly asks, you do any more live Magic the Gathering online? I prefer those to the pre-recorded. Yeah, but you have to catch them here on the live. This is the channel. And I usually do them on every second Tuesday, but not every time. Just got to be there when it happens. Eduardo with Cooperation. White 2 generic enchant creature. Target creature gains banding. Banding is broken. You know, I think people laugh at banding. It's actually insane. I mean, it's not worth, you know, paying 3 mana for the aura for the damn thing. You might as well just play a creature with banding. But banding, what banding does, it essentially makes like 2 creatures 1. There might be some exceptions to the rule, but basically things attack and block as 1 whole. But then you get the creatures with banding gets to assign the combat damage from your opponent's creatures. You can divide it however you want. You know, like if they're dealing 3 damage and you have like 2 creatures with banding, you could just put 2 on 1 creature and 1 on the other one, and boom, it will kill nothing. Don't underestimate banding. I played with banding. Only in the beta draft. That's the only way I could learn banding. They forced me. I had no choice. So, okay, here we go. Just a J. Rotka cat. Ghostly Flame. So I like to get around, try to get to everyone's suggestions. Red, black enchantment. Both black and red permanents and spells are considered colorless sources of damage. Who cares? Oh, I guess is this try to get around Circle of Protection at the time? Circle of Protection is broken. We can't deal with any of these enchantments. We need an answer to Circle of Protection. So while the white control deck is siding in Circle of Protection, black and red, the black-red, or I guess you have to be Rakdos. That's the only problem. You have to be Rakdos. You got to be splashing black or splashing red for this thing. Both black and red permanents and spells are considered colorless sources of damage. They should have brought this back during the Eldrazi sets. 6 Baku, don't play those cards if you need to pay off life gain uses. Pride Mates plus Friends? I have no idea what you're talking about. Pride Mates, 6 Baku, don't play those cards. Oh, you must be talking to someone else. Sorry about that. Sometimes I can't tell who what are you guys talking to me? You talking to them? Slayome. Blood Funeral. Blood Funeral. What? Oh, sorry, Blood Funnel. They should make a Blood Funeral card. Okay, Blood Funnel. Black, 1 generic for an enchantment. Non-creature spells you play cost 2 less to play. And whenever you play a non-creature spell, counter that spell unless you sacrifice a creature. Holy crap! This is awful. So, and the problem is, let's say you're playing a storm deck or something. You're not gonna have any creatures to sack. I mean, like, you're not gonna have. So basically, what it says is you're not gonna pay with mana. You're gonna pay with creatures. Is essentially what this thing is trying to say. Basically, what it says. You don't pay with creatures. We now pay instead of mana. We pay with instead of mana. You're gonna pay with your creatures on the board. You're gonna pay in blood. Hence the Blood Funnel. Voidtack with the Convalescence. Convalescence. 1 white, 1 generic for an enchantment. During your upkeep, if you have 10 or less life, gain 1 life. Well, that's just fine and dandy. I'm dying here. Okay, gain a life. Is that enough to keep your head above water? You know what? Now that we were talking about how, like, Prodigal Sorcerer or Prodigan Sorcerer is, like, really busted back then, there was so many 1 power creatures that I can totally understand why the 1 life would make a difference. It's just that, like, okay, so we power crept our creatures, but we didn't power creep the life gain. Like, where's the gain 20 life card for 2 mana? We probably should have that by now. Petri with the Tackle Maggot. I really love how people still use the question mark thing. This is like a real old legacy of Coffee and MTG. Oh god, you had to suggest something with this many words on it. All right, Tackle Maggot, black 2 generic. Enchant creature. At the beginning of the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, put a -0/-1 counter on that creature. When enchanted creature is put into a graveyard, that creature's controller chooses a creature that Tackle Maggot could enchant. If he or she does, return Tackle Maggot to the battlefield under your control attached to that creature. If he or she doesn't, return Tackle Maggot to the battle. I don't know what's going on here. The original card is not clear. It just says Tackle Maggot on it constantly. What does it do? Does anyone know what this does in the end? I don't even want to interpret this thing. I'm not even really reading it as I'm reading it, if you know what I mean. Put a counter on target creature during its control's upkeep if it's placed in the graveyard. Oh, I see. So, it's a the -0, sorry, the 0/-1 counter just moves around as the creature dies. And deals 1 damage to the controller of the last creature. Terrible. Great Wall. I don't know. Did we do the Great Wall? Let's see. Oh, yeah, we did Great Wall. That is a terrible card. Dows. Oops. Dows. Blue, 2 generic. Pay a blue, 1 generic. Counter target red spell. Play this ability as an interrupt. This is great. I think this is actually pretty good against actual red decks. I didn't even know this existed. I mean, they'll probably choke you on mana, but this is unlimited counter spells for the red decks. That's actually not a bad sideboard card. Dylan with the super chat. Chains of Mephistopheles, bad because nobody understands it. We'll just, okay, shout out to Chains of Mephistopheles. It's like, it has a brain maggot thing. This is another one of those cards that you don't really know what it does unless you play with it. You gotta, like, play with it to internalize it. Otherwise, it's just a big pile of words on the card. But it is a good card. It's worth over $1,000 for that reason. Endbringer's Revel. Endbringer's Revel. Isn't there an actual card called Endbringer? I guess this is the Revel. Black 2 generic enchantment. Oh, it's from Prophecy. Must be bad. The only good card out of Prophecy, I guess, is like Rhystic Study. Pay 4. Return target creature card from a graveyard to its owner's hand. Any player may play this ability, but only any time he or she could play a sorcery. Oh god. So you can't even do this at end of turn. You gotta basically sink your whole turn into it, and then everyone will know what you're gonna do. Eduardo with the super chat. Alms. It's a simple name. Oh, it's a real card. 1 white, enchantment. Okay, pay 1. Remove the top card in your graveyard from the game. Prevent 1 damage to any card, to any creature. Absolute trash. One of the worst cards I've ever seen. We gotta remove the top card of our... Oh, sorry. It's not the top card of our library. It's just the top card. So we actually need to fill the graveyard in order to fuel this card. So that actually got worse. I thought we were just removing cards on the top of our library. Back then, I mean, technically, still, your graveyard has an order where there are cards in the graveyard that are on the bottom and cards on the top. And in this case, you remove the top card in your graveyard from the game. It's supposed to have an order. But, like, they don't make cards like that anymore. They should just ban all those graveyard ordering cards. Get rid of this rule. When I play Legacy, I gotta pay attention to what cards are on the top of my graveyard. I'd rather not. Thank you very much. Whoops. Moderation from Modern Horizons 2. I don't remember what this card does. Oh, this card. Blue, white, 1 generic. You can't cast more than 1 spell each turn, but whenever you cast a spell, draw a card. Yeah, this somehow is a flop. This card looks like it should be great. Does anyone play this in EDH? This card looks like it should be amazing, but it actually sees no play whatsoever. You can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. I mean, that's the downside. Is there any way you can cheat around that? You can't cast more than 1 each spell, but maybe you can like durdle around and activate abilities or whatever. Whenever you cast a spell, draw a card. I guess that shows how important it is to play multiple spells in 1 turn. But yeah, it sees no play whatsoever. Chris Kiger with the... Have you done Descent into Madness? Nope. Descent into Madness. Black, 3 generic enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a despair counter on Descent into Madness. Then each player exiles X permanents he or she controls and or X cards from his or her hand, where X is the number of despair counters on Descent into Madness. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a despair counter, and then each player exiles X permanents? It's so slow! But it's slow. It's eventually we just lose everything. So hold on. Is the number of... Is there any end at the beginning of your upkeep permanence where X is the number of descent? Because you would at the beginning of your upkeep put a despair counter on it. Then each player exiles X permanents he or she controls and or cards from his or her hand where X is the number. So I guess, okay, so I understand. Basically, eventually everything will be gone, including the Descent into Madness, and then that's when you can basically restart the game. So you have to hope that you have way more permanents than your opponents do when you're playing with this card. Really ugly card, though. Levy want to give a throw shade at Opalescence. What's wrong with Opalescence? This is like one of the most busted combo cards. Each white, 2 generic. Each other global enchantment is a creature with power and toughness each equal. I don't think this is one of the best enchantments. This is a really hard effect to get there. If you want this effect, you usually have to spend like more than 4 mana for it. You gotta spend a lot of mana. But thank you very much for the super chat. Isn't that an artifact? Or is that MTG Gaming Bob with Vidalcan Orrery? Yeah, this is an artifact. You know, but you know what? I went in to sell a bunch of cards and I had no idea that this card was worth so much money. The guy at the shop stared at me and said, "Do you have any idea how much this card costs?" And like, if they didn't ask that question, I would have said like $1. But it turns out, you know, this is apparently, was it Josh Lee Kwai loves this card, has basically pumped up the stock of Vidalcan Orrery. All right, so before we end, Jacob wants us to know about Nature's Embrace. There's probably a lot more terrible cards to talk about. Green, 2 generic, enchant creature or land. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, gets +2/+2. As long as enchanted permanent is a land, it has tap, add 2 mana of any one color. It's an awkward card. I'll give you that. Let's get one more terrible, terrible card before it's over. Monkey with the Vassal's Duty. I want to end on something awful. White, 3 generic enchantment. Pay 1. The next 1 damage that would be dealt to target legendary creature you control this turn is dealt to you instead. I love it! 4 mana. Redirect damage from your legendary creature to you. There we go. Cyclonic Rift says, you got it, Jacob. You work hard enough. Because I try, I try to get around, get other people's suggestions so that, everyone gets to be part of the show. And if you want to be part of this show, hey, you got to be here Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Be there or be square. Thanks so much for your super chats. Everyone who supports the channel, either a member on YouTube or a patron on Patreon. Links to all that to support the channel in the description below. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here, making this one of the best mornings to talk about terrible cards. Because, you know what? You guys are the show. I'm not the show. You guys are. Without you guys, I'm worthless. So, as usual, keep brewing up those coffees, Coffee Crew, and we'll keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you at the next cup.